Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&As. Let's go ahead and get this started. All right, first question. Hey Jason, can you explain to me how it is possible to have big strength fluctuations one day? I might be able to squat 405 for 3 to 5 reps, or bench 300 for 6, but then 4 or 5 days later I won't be able to squat or bench that weight for barely 1 rep. How is this possible? Because you did limit sets of your all-out limit sets on those lifts as peak sets, and you don't have your fatigue management on point. Yeah, it's about fatigue management. In other words, you are trying to replicate the same limit performance too close together in the whole context of your overall training, right? If you had your fatigue management on point, it might not be that big of a deal. But the other question becomes, why would you be hitting on a major exercise? I'm not talking about a secondary lift, not a smaller movement. Why in the world would you think that you can hit an all-out 5 rep max on a squat and do that again shortly as a non-novice lifter, right? I mean, 405 squat for 5, you're up in the advanced category. Rep work taken to a limit is more fatiguing than even 1 rep maxes are. And people forget that sometimes, like it's just a true single, like up to a training max like that. It's just about fatigue management. You're not recovered again by the time you do it. There's a reason we periodize training. There's a reason you can't just come in and just say, hey, I'm just going to squat to a 5 rep max 2 or 3 times a week and make gains on it. There's a reason we need training volume. There's a reason we program. You're simply not recovered enough. And the worst part is that if you didn't actually get enough actual training volumes and loadings while doing that all-out fatiguing set to have grown, you might actually regress in the middle of that recovery window. But the main thing to remember is that either you haven't recovered or you are detraining over time due to your training programming, right? And you've just got to factor these things in. And I know it's a complicated topic and it's not easy to understand always, particularly as you get more and more advanced compared to how things worked when you were a novice, because that doesn't happen to novice lifters, does it? Unless their diet and rest is really screwed up. But it is what it is, brother. And you got to work on your fatigue management better. All right, next question. If you were given a 16-year-old basketball player that needs to improve strength and athleticism, what type of program would you suggest? Well, it would depend on how developed they are. If they're a novice lifter, I'd put them on a basic novice linear progression program. Why? Because getting your 5 rep max up on your squat will improve your strength and athleticism more than anything else we could possibly do. They would need to build a strength base on their basic lifts, right? With a little bit of plyo work, things like that. If they have training experience under their belt, then we would go into some sort of conjugate periodization with dynamic work and various speed work and explosiveness training. That's what I would do. It could be anything from something similar to what I do, all the way up to something like DeFranco's West Side for Skinny Bastards. But the idea is the same. That's one of the most proven methods. Those are the 2 proven methods, depending on experience level, of improving speed and power in various field athletes. Right? Linear progression, basic strength programs, and then more specialized programs to where we focus upon speed, strength, explosiveness combined with max strength. Now, people will say, but they might get too big and bulky. I'm sorry, but a tall, lanky basketball player who isn't bulking is never going to get too big and bulky. Because last time I checked, Shaquille O'Neal wasn't even too big and bulky to, make millions and millions of dollars. So, unless they're overeating to bulk up, they're not going to get too big and bulky. You're only going to get so big from strength training. You only put so much size on your frame, right? So that will get them explosive. That'll get them powerful. That's what we would want to do, depending upon their experience level. Right, depending on their experience level. All right, next question. Hey Jason, do you think that front and side raises can aid pressing movement strength and shoulder durability if done consistently in a lifter's program. Oh man, that's going to be subject to a lot of controversy when I say this. I don't see the need for front raises. If you have energy left for front raises, you have energy left for pressing. Okay? Because in nobody's world, no one I have ever met has ever said my front delts need to be stronger, but I need my triceps and upper chest to shrink. Right? It's unheard of. Side laterals. Yeah, I think side laterals can help. They can help overall strength and development. And because we have this world to where if you don't have roid-looking shoulders, even if you're natural, no one thinks that you lift, you should probably do some side laterals. But that being said, if done correctly and consistently, they can potentially aid with overall shoulder stability. They can add to your shoulder development, upper trap development, and it might help with your pressing a little bit in terms of stability to do the side laterals. I don't think it's a problem. I would much rather see people put an extra focus on the posterior side. Face pulls, rowing, things like that. Well, let's come over to that point. Most people are deficient at that more than anything. Right? I find even most of the clients I get, they don't do enough upper back work in general. More upper back work will also help your whole shoulder structure. Because those rear delts have a lot of splash over when they're trained, even in pulling, even in rows to the upper chest. All right, they get a lot of carryover to that side delt. That helps. That's usually the first thing you should be doing, in my opinion. But side laterals, are they beneficial? Yeah, absolutely. I do them. And if I do them, then I think they're probably beneficial. Even if it's from just an aesthetics perspective, because at the end of the day, that's the thing I have to accept. Everybody wants to look better to some extent, almost irrespective of what their goals are. Even when I have a client who comes and tells me, I don't care at all about how I look. I don't care at all. I just care about performance, right? And I don't put any curls in their program. What's the very first question they ask me? Hey, can I throw some curls in? So they didn't really mean that they don't care at all about how they look. It's just of secondary importance, right? Not that they don't care. So, if you want to do some side lateral raises, hey, that'd probably be a real good idea, right? Be a real good idea. Be fine. Learn to do them correctly in a way that doesn't crush your glenoid. All right, next question. Hey, Coath, about your off-season intermediate program, you didn't specify which assistance movements to do, also sets and reps. Can you specify in that? How in the world do I know what assistance movements any given intermediate who I'm not coaching firsthand needs? No, you're going to have to figure that out. You're a big bad intermediate lifter. If you can't afford a coach, you're going to need to be able to look at your own lifts and find your weak links. Okay? That's why it says assistance movements. It says assistance movements. There is no such thing as cookie cutter assistance movements. Assistance movements and accessory movements are based upon your personal weaknesses as an individual right now this week. Let me spell out reality for you. Your weaknesses this week are not going to be your same weaknesses in 6 weeks. So, if by some miracle my magic 8-ball gave the ability for me to prescribe specific exercises, sets, and reps for a lifter I have never seen in my life that turned out to be the right accessory and assistance movements for you as an individual, and it's perfect, and we get it perfect, like that 1 in 1,000 chance that the ones that I just happen to randomly pick out of with my magic 8-ball were the ones that you need, in 6 weeks they're going to be the wrong ones. So even if I manage to get it right, if you're still doing those exact same ones 6 weeks or 8 weeks from now, and you're still taking my advice that was the right ones at that point, I've now given you bad advice. They're the wrong ones. They're most likely going to need to be different. Your assistance work is based upon your current individual weak links right now, today. Not what they were 3 months ago, not what they're going to be 3 months from now. For you as an individual. That's what supplemental lifts are. Supplemental lifts are. That's a very generic cookie cutter program for a reason. It's meant for you to customize that. And it's not my program, it's just a basic template like millions of others that have been used for millions of athletes all over the world in a dozen sports. It's just a generic linear template. It's not even special. It's not mine. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.